Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live. This is my first time doing a live stream from the new van. If you saw my last video, I guess I'll just put a link to that over in the chat. But my last video kind of explains where I'm at, what's going on, and why I am in a van. So I'll throw that into the chat for you to check out. But I just got this one built, and I'm trying to figure out where the best place to live stream from. So this seems like a good plan. So I'm going to wait a minute or two to wait for people to join. But today the plan is I'm going to talk a little bit about puppies. Specifically, I'm going to talk about my goals for my puppy, what I'm thinking about when I'm working with a really young puppy. So my puppy will be 8 weeks when they come home. And then I'm going to also share the short list for names so that you guys can give me your input on what your favorite name is. Hi, Jupiter the Great Dane. Yeah, so while we're waiting for people to join, can you go into the chat and let me know who you are, where you're from, and maybe drop what's your favorite dog's name that you've had before, or one that you've heard? Like, what's your favorite name? Thanks for the notification. Can you make a video about e-collars? I don't use e-collars for service dog training, so I won't be making a video about that. I just don't do that. So I'm not an expert on that. And it's not something that I choose to use. Starting off with the very controversial stuff. So if you could put your name and the location in the chat where you're from, and if you have a service dog that you are currently working with, one that's working, a service dog in training, any of that, so I can check it out. And then we'll kind of get started with the content for today. And for those of you that are new here, yeah, I'm in the van right now. I dropped the link to that up above so you can see kind of what's been going on, because I did do a full video on prepping for puppy, prepping my house for puppy, that talks a little bit about potty training, keeping a puppy from demolishing all of your things and ruining your stuff, and also like the lazy things that I do to make puppy raising easier. All right, so let's check out who's here today. Kathy from Montana, whose favorite names are Kamas. Kamas, am I saying that right? Oh no, and Tika. I like that. That's good. I'm going to skip the questions for now because we're going to do questions a little bit later. I have some stuff that I want to talk about first. I'm Sam, and I'm from Texas, and I'm getting a Great Dane puppy named Jasmine Friday. Oh, awesome. Congrats. Hello, Kristen from Pittsburgh. One retired, one current service dog. Awesome. Cindy and Lucky, good afternoon. Just learning. Awesome, Kristen. Yeah, that's definitely the first part about doing service dog stuff, is the more you can learn before you get the dog, the better off you're going to be. Got Izzy from West Virginia, Kaiser from Oregon. Oh, the UK. What time is it in the UK, Zoe? Not sure. Yeah, sometimes I have chats that are actually like conducive to other countries, because I do have a lot of people from other countries on here and clients from around the world. So hopefully this was a good time. Texas, Oakley, California, Minnesota. Oh, that's Sue DeMayo. That's my mom. She's from Connecticut. Kaylee from Ohio. A couple of service dogs that passed away. I'm sorry about that. Oh, 10 p.m. Woo. Yeah, that's late. Pronounced Rain. Thank you for the pronunciation. Can you tell that I'm terrible at pronouncing things? I'm from Indiana. Commander, a German Shepherd. Oh, getting a service dog prospect in a couple weeks. Awesome. So right now, everyone who's just joining, we're just waiting for people to pop on, and we'll get started. We're going to be talking a little bit about puppies today. Elon from North Dakota. 10 p.m. Yeah, awesome. Okay. Hi, Mike from Texas. Awesome. All right, so let's talk about puppies today. So I wanted to, and I am going to take questions too, but I wanted to talk just a little bit generally about philosophy and training puppies. So for those of you that are new to the channel, my name's Laura. Hopefully you know that if you're here. And my puppy is coming next week. And this puppy is going to be a service dog prospect. It's going to be my adventure buddy, my travel buddy, as well as a sport dog. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And also, I'm probably, if everything pans out and the dog is appropriate for it, going to do a series on training guide work, because I feel like guide work has been kind of shrouded in mystery for a long time. And I see with even transferring to leading tasks and things like that, there tends to be some gaps in the training that shows up when the dog is doing the work. So I'm hoping eventually to be able to do that if the dog is suitable for that type of work. So it's a Labrador puppy. I'm picking them up on Tuesday. And so let's talk general puppies. My puppy will be 8 weeks old. The first thing that a lot of people will ask is, what do you want to train first? What are you going to train your dog first? And when they say that, they're generally talking about what behavior, what obedience, what command, what cue, whatever are you going to teach your dog first? And while teaching behaviors is important, my goal when I first get a dog is that I want to teach it a love of learning and how to learn, right? So those are the two most important things that I am trying to train very young, because my job as my puppy's trainer is to facilitate the realization of the puppy's potential. So the puppy comes with some amount of potential. Every puppy is on a spectrum of different behaviors, and we can shift that spectrum. We're not going to completely change the puppy that we have in front of us, but we can make huge strides in shifting where they are along the spectrum. So my job is for that puppy to realize their potential in life. Okay. And I do that by being as informed as possible, being a patient trainer, and also being a trainer that has a sense of humor, because puppyhood is silly and difficult and challenging, and you're gonna, all the things are gonna come up in puppyhood. So we want to have a lot of patience when we work with our puppies, and we want to be always striving to do better than we did yesterday. The way I trained a puppy when I was 22 is not the same way that I'm going to train a puppy now at 36. So, we're always learning and growing. And I always think that when we know better, we do better, right? So when we're getting puppy home, that means that I am going to spend time building confidence with my puppy. What does building confidence entail? It entails giving the puppy small challenges that they can overcome and then build their confidence. So just like with people, right? When you go to school, you don't start with like algebra. You start with like adding things together. And then like if you get 1 + 1, you're like, oh yeah, I did it, right? Or when you're learning to read and you get the word right and you're like, yeah, I did it. That's what we're doing for our puppies, is saying, here's something really small that you can do and feel good and accomplish that thing. So what is a small challenge for a puppy? It could be something as simple as like walking over a stick, like a tiny log, like something they can easily go over that isn't going to injure them, but isn't like huge and they're not going to have to jump over, right? So it can be just like a tiny little like obstacle like that. It could be them barrier between the puppy and their food and them having to work. It could be, small noises that they're, so like maybe you're playing stuff in the background, and as soon as, the fireworks go off at a very, very, very low level, the tug comes out and you start playing tug with your puppy. And now they're associating something that could potentially be scary with something really, really good, like playing tug with you. So that's confidence building. We're also looking at socialization. So socialization is like a very broad term, but when I look at socialization, I look at passive and active socialization. So passive socialization is the going out and observing the thing. There is a mistake that is often made that socialization means I need to meet 100 people, I need to meet 100 dogs, and that's like all of socialization. And that's just not the case. When we're looking at socialization, I'm looking a lot at passive socialization. What does that look like in real life? That means that I am getting in my van, I'm going to a strip mall shopping center, I am opening the door to my car, and I am having the puppy chew on a bully stick while we watch people, shopping carts, kids, whatever, walk by. Nothing is happening. It's passive. The dog is absorbing the things that are happening around them, and they're eating something yummy. So they're associating it with something positive. And I can modulate how challenging, like how much they're getting by parking further or less away. And it doesn't have to be in a car. It could be popping a blanket down in a park, but you're way far away from the kids playing and you're just letting them soak it in, absorb. Typically do this after exercising them so that they're also like a little bit tired. So that's passive socialization. I want to do that. Like if I can 4 or 5 days a week, if not a few days a week. So that's that. Then active socialization is the stuff like if you just saw my recent short with the hot dog and the unicorn, active socialization is things that I am purposely doing to make it so that the puppy is normalizing the weird things that are going to happen to it in its life. So basically, if I put on a costume and train my puppy in my costume, that's active socialization. If I am teaching the puppy, so like one of the games that I like to play is every day I introduce a new object. I call it touch the butt because I don't know how old y'all are, but if you've ever seen Finding Nemo, can you give me the like button if you've seen Finding Nemo and you know what I'm talking about? So when they go to touch the boat, they play this like hopscotch game to get to the boat. And that's kind of what we're doing with the puppy. So I'll put down something new, like a teapot or something like that, and say, okay, I'm going to shape that puppy. I'm going to mark and reinforce for the dog looking at the new object, then stepping towards the new object, then touching the new object, then interacting with the new object. That's another way I can socialize the puppy to new things. So we've got active and passive socialization that we're going to do with our puppy. That's all important to do in those first 8 to 12 to 16 weeks, depending on the puppy, where you're going to get like that sponge period where they're more susceptible to seeing new things and being good with them. I love the thumbs up. Thanks, y'all. So that's what we're working on at that age. Now, as far as behavior goes, I'm going to do a series of videos on like actually the training of behavior. But another thing that people want to do is they want to we are verbal, right? Humans are super verbal. We want to talk. Look at me. I'm talking all over the place. And so we want to talk. But dogs aren't verbal, right? They're not a verbal species. And we want to add cues to things really quickly. But when our puppy is young, I care very little, almost not at all, about adding a word for a behavior. What I do care about is teaching that puppy how to learn and to do a set of behaviors that are going to help them in the future. So foundation behaviors. And foundation behaviors are not sit down, stand. I will teach all of those things. I will pattern sit downs and stand. But what I care about a lot is targeting. And if you haven't taken my mini course, so I offer a totally free mini course. If you sign up for my newsletter, you'll get an email and you can pop to that talks a lot about shaping. So that's something that I work on a lot as a puppy is I want them to build their confidence in driving the learning. And when we're talking service dogs specifically, targeting is a big deal. So we want to teach them targeting young if possible. So those are the main things that I'm working on along with potty training. I am either going to do a course or like a really comprehensive video on potty training for service dogs because I do believe that it is different than pets, as well as body handling. That's another thing we're going to work on really young. So with that all being said, I want to drop a couple of things down into the chat for you to check out. It's also in the description. Oh, my husband's on. My husband's home in Connecticut, and I'm here in Colorado. Okay, I don't know how to do this. Hold on one sec. I'm going to drop the costume contest in the description because I want to give a shout out to that. If you're on Instagram and you're going to dress your puppy up for Halloween or your dog up for Halloween, enter the contest. I'm going to be giving away 2 bags of Cool Whip's favorite treats, which is from Oma's Pride, because Oma's Pride is the place that we partner with. They're the only partner because it's a brand of food that I've been feeding for more than a decade. So it's, I really, really love them. If I'll just put their website down so you can check them out. Because they're a sponsor, they are responsible for me being able to do a lot of these live streams. So I appreciate when you do support that. And you can use code DOGGYU for 30% off your first order. So there you go. So costume contest. And then one of my recent videos on puppy, how I'm preparing my house for puppies. That one you should check out if you're going to follow along on our journey, because this channel is going to be all about raising that puppy and how it applies to how you can raise your own puppy and train your own service dog. And so checking out that video is kind of the start of this whole series for this training. Okay, so I think okay, yeah, let's take questions and then I'm going to go over names because I think I'll do that last. So if you have questions about puppies, I'm just going to scroll back and see what we got here so far. And again, I'm taking puppy specific questions today. Today is all about puppies. Okay, so I have a question. Oh, I just lost it. I think it was someone saying when should they sign their puppy up for training first. And so I will say I am a big proponent of group classes when we're talking service dogs. My puppy is already signed up for training classes. And you're like, oh, you know how to train stuff? Why would you go to training classes? I don't care about training the things. I care about training around other dogs and people. Because when we're talking service dogs, it's very hard to replicate the captive audience that you have in a classroom setting. So when I go to a classroom, I am teaching my puppy, I'm really teaching the behaviors at home. I am practicing those behaviors around other people in this audience of dogs so that my dog learns that I can do behavior when there are other dogs and people around, and that is normal. And that is hard to replicate when you're training by yourself. And so the question is, when should you sign them up? Now, as soon as possible. My puppy will be 9 weeks when we go to our first class. And I want another note about training. Drive, if possible, get to the better location. So if you have a trainer that doesn't get great reviews near you and you have one that is a really good company further away, go to the further away one if possible. I drive 45 minutes each way to get to the training facility that I train at because it is the closest, best one to me, if that makes sense. So there you go. So start now. All right. How old is the puppy you're getting? They will be 8 weeks when I get them. So that'll be right late. Is starting service dog training 13 weeks too early or too late? It's not too late, and it's definitely not too early. I start puppies at 8 weeks. If you watch the series of me training Osa, the German Shepherd guide dog puppy, it's old now. It's like maybe 2 years old. But if you look up guide dog puppy, it should come up. And that puppy, I actually started at 7 weeks when they were still at the facility. Puppies can learn very, very young. And ideally, you're going to a breeder that's going to start the training with your puppy super early. There's early neurological stimulation that starts at 3 days old, as well as you can start training as early. Puppies can learn things 6 weeks, easy peasy, to start teaching them to follow a lure, really simple stuff. All right, let me look at what else we got. Getting a good match is a little bit complicated, but basically I would try to go with a breeder who has experience with service dogs, potentially trained service dogs themselves, and is able to help you pick the right puppy for that. If you take my Service Dog 101 course, which you can find at doggyu.com, that one also goes over it does like a 45-minute session of looking at a temperament test for a puppy. And if you're on Patreon, so if you want to join Patreon, I'll just put that in the chat. So Patreon is how I basically am able to do all of this stuff on YouTube. The people on Patreon are fantastic, and they are the ones that make all of this possible. No lie, I could not do this without them. So Patreon has all of my uncut and unedited sessions, and it's going to have a ton more stuff once I get the puppy. But I have actually 2 different deep dives on Patreon that show temperament testing for puppies and what I'm looking for and what I'm seeing that will be helpful if you're picking the puppy for yourself. All right, let's see. Currently driving 6 hours a couple times a year to get what I need. Yeah, it's like I have driven hours to go to training, and not everyone is able to do that. And there's no shame if you're not able to do that. But if you have the option to go to a good trainer, do it. Someone asked if I'm taking clients. I'm not taking clients, but the clients that I am finishing up at this point, I've had them come from 7 hours away, fly to work with me. And that's not, I'm not trying to like toot my own horn there. It's just that like good trainers are in different locations. I've gone to trainers that are, I'd make a route on my route to go to a trainer that's literally 16 hours from my house if I can, if I really need help with a specific thing. Okay, let's see. How do you know if a puppy is suitable for service dog training? Yeah, so like I said, Patreon, there's 2 different deep dives that show possible. Sorry, I'm just like, it's so dry here in Colorado and I'm so not used to it. I can't even talk. Okay. So yeah, I have a couple deep dives on puppy testing, but also like you want to work with a breeder that understands what you need, and or if you don't have a breeder that understands what you need, hire a trainer to come help evaluate the puppies. So I have 3 deep dives on puppy evaluation, because I have Maeve, that black lab puppy that you've been seeing in a lot of my videos. I actually picked her out of a litter with Casey, my colleague, when she was 7 or 8 weeks old maybe. And now you can kind of see her training progression. And I talk about that in the deep dive and what I did to pick her out. How do I cope with the car anxiety? Okay, I want to be super clear. Taking puppy questions right now. I know that there's lots of different questions and I'll do different ones, but this is puppy specific. Hey, very smart dogs. Hi. When should you spay or neuter them? I've heard not until skeletal maturity. And does there need to be a stand command, or would I release word work for that to end a sit down or stay? Okay, spay or neuter. I am not a vet, and I am a big fan of staying in my lane about things that I know or don't know. But what I do know is my personal experience, in which I do not spay or neuter my animals until they are at a minimum of 16 months old. And ideally, you keep them intact for as long as possible. That is my personal mode/opinion on that. So yeah. I drive every week for an hour for training. Her breeder was a service dog trainer owner and helped me pick. Awesome. Potty training. Jupiter, have you checked out the video that I most recently did and posted? Because I talk very specifically about potty training there, but I will have more on potty training coming up as well. If you don't have any puppy breeders or trainers like that in your area, what would be the best course of action then? I would go to a different location. Like I don't have a good answer for that, because I really believe that getting the right dog is the largest predictor of whether or not the dog is going to work out. So I will go to any lengths to get the right dog, which for me meant my process of getting this puppy has been 2 years long. I visited breeders across multiple states, and not everyone is able to do that. But what you can do is find a breeder who has been successful, and you can always fly to go get that puppy, or have them, figure out a situation where you can get that puppy to you. Okay, driving my girl home. She's a puppy. She was panicking. That's a little bit outside the scope, but I would do really slow. So Jake, my 15-year-old dog, came to me as a rescue who had a lot of car anxiety, and we spent 6 weeks to 2 months or so counter conditioning to the car. So we would literally just eat all our meals in the car, eat the meals in the car with the car turned on, drive down the driveway until we were able to drive to work and all that. Okay. Cool. Do we have any other questions? How do I train a good food drive? I actually have an entire video on that. So if you are ever looking for a video, one of my things that I'm trying to do on this channel is make a lot of like a whole library of free resources so that you can train your dog without, for free or very low cost. And so if you're ever looking for a particular video, what you can do is actually go to my YouTube channel and search across my channel. So if you look up food drive, I'm doing it right now to see if it actually pops up. Let's see. Let's put in food motivation and see if it pops up. I can't remember what I named that video. There we go. If you put in food motivation, it comes up, but here's that video for you. So you can check it out about increasing food motivation and why your dog might not be food motivated. But in general, for anyone who's listening, if you do want to have a service dog, pick a food motivated dog. That's very, very important. So food motivated dog, for me, is really important for the training process, because I use a lot of food in training, and most people do, like, who are training service dogs, use quite a bit of food in training. How does scent training work? I am not a scent training expert. I do have a video, if you search migraine, that's going to pop up for one of my clients who discusses a little bit about the training process for migraine alert dogs. Okay, early neurological stimulation. I've heard it in the context of military dogs. Does it have any benefits for disabled service dogs? So that's a tough question. It doesn't not have benefits. The studies on it have been a little bit mixed, but it doesn't hurt anything. And one of the things that doing early neurological stimulation does, if you go with the studies that have associated with positive things, it can make a dog more resilient, have better heart rate, stronger heart rate, all that. And then there are some studies that say it didn't do anything. But what it tells me is that that breeder is willing to invest time every day in their puppy from 3 days old. And that's an important indicator for me. That's a green flag for me. It's not the only thing I'm looking at, but it is something that I'm looking at. Other contexts, when I trained guide dogs, they did early neurological stimulation with every single one of those guide dogs. And I think most guide dog schools do. Okay, let's see. Do you feel like a protocol like puppy culture is actually helpful? Yes. Oh, yes, I do. It doesn't have to be puppy culture specifically, but the time spent working with each individual dog pays off. It's like you're getting a 4-week jump start on training for your dog. They're more resilient. They understand how to solve problems better. Yes, I do think that early socialization protocols are incredibly important, and it's something that I'm absolutely looking for in a breeder. Are there any breeds of dogs that are harder to train? I mean, harder. It's like hard because every dog has a thing that motivates them. And so the dogs that are motivated by food or toys are easier to train than dogs that are not as motivated by those things. Dogs that are bred to work with humans are easier to motivate than dogs that are bred to work independently. So take that for what it is. Okay, so this is a great question. My puppy has really good focus during training with food, but is it possible to make a training session too long where it isn't beneficial? He is 12 weeks old. Yes, absolutely. I train in super short spurts. So I don't all right, I'm going to get my treat pouch out and I'm going to train for the next half hour. I absolutely do not do that with puppies at all. And I really don't do it with any dog because dogs benefit from short sessions. And we're talking puppies. My sessions are literally 30 seconds to 5 to 10 minutes on the higher end. So maybe at 12 weeks, I might be doing a 10-minute session. But in reality, 30 seconds to a few minutes on any behavior. And then I'm going to have time in between to play, to do a cookie scatter, that kind of thing. I'm looking up a video because I have a video on training. I can't think of it right now. So I have an entire video on training schedule or training, how to structure a training session. Let me see if I can find it for you. There we go. That will go a lot more in depth on my philosophy on how to train that I think will be really helpful. So I'm shoving that there in the comments. Okay, do you recommend taking puppies to raisers before 2 months old? I'm not 100% sure what that means. I don't think the puppies should be separated from their litter mates before 2 months old. And in fact, in a lot of states, it's not legal to do that. How often should I train? I like to train multiple times a day for 30 seconds to 5 minutes a day, for each session. That's my preference. But at a minimum, you should be training with breakfast and dinner and lunch if your dog takes 3. Why don't you see as many chocolate labs as service dogs if you see a lot of black and yellow ones? Yeah. So there's a lot of, the answer to that question is I don't know the science enough to say, but people think that chocolate labs are more high strung and more difficult. And I hate to say this because I can't cite it, but I believe I read a study that chocolate labs actually live 15% shorter lives than black and yellow labs, but that doesn't make sense to me. So I don't have that study available, but I think also chocolates just aren't bred as often. Should I bring my girl to school when she gets older? That depends a lot on a lot of things, including if they're going to do well in that environment. All right. So that was a bunch of questions rapid fire. So I am going to go over the names for the puppy. And I'm going to have y'all chime in with what your favorite ones are. So this is the short list of the names that I liked that my husband also approved of. So you can kind of tell me what you think you like or what you think I'm going to pick. So the first one that I actually got a lot on there, and this is the one that I was going to name the dog and I'm just not sure about yet, is Timber. So Timber, y'all commented that one quite a bit because it fit the recommendations, and I do like that name, and that's on the list. The next is Pickles, and then we have Pop Tart, and then we have John Denver, and then we have Mojito, and then we have Goose. What I like about Mojito is that I don't know if y'all have seen the Barbie movie, but there's the Mojo Dojo Casa House, and I think if it was Mojito and I was naming them Mojo, it would have to be the breeder's name, which is Kick-Ass Labrador. So Kick-Ass Mojo Dojo Casa House for the registered name. um, so so yeah, I'm gonna throw this down in the comments. Oh, I can't actually. Sorry. So Timber, Pickles, Pop Tart, Denver, Mojito, or Goose. what do you like? Put it down in the comments and I'll read it. Timber. Yeah, Timber was my first choice. I've seen so many Timbers recently that I'm kind of turned off, and it's a little bit harder for me to say that B sound. I don't know. That's just I don't know if that's in my brain. Pickles. So Pickles only works because my husband wants to call him Tommy Pickles. And I don't know if y'all watched Rugrats when you were a kid. And then we have Denver. So Denver would be John Denver. And the reason I love that name, well, first of all, I love Colorado. It's my heart state. But every time my husband and I go into a national park, we play his album. So it has like super good connotations for me. And I think it's really cute. And a friend of mine said, so you have to come up, I don't know if everyone knows this, but you have a call name, like the name that I'm going to call the dog, like Denver. And then you have the registered name with the AKC. And so the Denver one would be Kick-Ass Sunshine on My Shoulders from the John Denver song. And she had mentioned, if you've seen Cool Whip doing her trick where she's on my shoulder, that would be kind of a cute one for that. Let's see. Mojito has too many syllables. You're right, it does. And that's why it would be Mojo for short. Goose is cute. Yeah. Is it overdone? Maybe, but it's so cute. Plus, I love animal names, as y'all know. Timber, Denver, Timber and Mojito. Let's see. Pop Tart. Yeah. Pop Tart's just silly and it kind of goes with Cool Whip, right? It's for K-Fry is on board with Pickles now. Let's see. My friend had a service dog, Great Dane named Goose. Oh, she wrote a book about it. Cute. Goose or Pickles. I like Timber or Denver. Cool. All right, so those are the ones we're looking at. For those of you that just joined in, I am going to put the link again for the costume contest. If you're planning, so on Instagram, I'm running a costume contest purely for my own delight because my dog does not love costumes. So I want to see you all. I want to see your dogs in costumes. Oh, you can pin it. I think you can pin messages. Thank you, Daffodil. I don't know how a computer works. I'm just a dog trainer. Maybe I'll pin that to that. It's also in the description. I don't know if that's helpful or not. But so that's the costume contest. And I'm giving away a couple of bags of Cool Whip's favorite treats from Oma's Pride. Oma's Pride is the only sponsor or partner that I work with on this channel because I've been feeding them forever and I feel good about it. All right, we got some more. We got some new people joining on. Cora, Peyton, Miss Scarlett. Oh, Timber is so cute. Awesome. All right, I think I missed a couple questions up here. I'm going to go back and see if I can answer those for you while y'all marinate on those dog names. And I got to pick by next week, so I'm getting puppy sometime next week. Oh, great question. Okay, should task training start in puppyhood or should puppyhood focus on socialization and obedience? This is an excellent question. So task training is like a broad spectrum, right? So if I'm training a task, I start with foundation behaviors. What should I be training when the puppy is young? Foundation behaviors. What I don't want to be doing is putting pressure on a dog to perform tasks before they are physically, socially, and emotionally mature. So that means that when we're talking about a dog, I'm not going to be putting any type of task for me in a medical scenario, specifically medical scenario, pressure on them until they're an adult, which happens somewhere between 18 months, 2 years, 16 months to 2 years or so. Then I would start actually having them do those tasks in public when I need them to do them. Prior to that, with tasks, I'm only practicing them, setting them up in scenarios. But for puppies, that's where, I was talking about targeting at the beginning. Targeting is so critically important for most tasks. So, like, for instance, I'm going to teach a puppy a front foot target. If you want to learn how to do a front foot target or a back foot target, I have all those videos up on my YouTube channel. You can search my channel. I might teach the puppy to front foot target, and then later on, I may need to use that front foot target to do a retrieve. So I may need my puppy to retrieve something for me and then put their feet up on my wheelchair foot things or put their feet on my feet, and that's a foot target, right? So I can train these foundation behaviors really, or nose touch, right? Nose touch is a big one that I teach pretty much right away to most puppies. I shape this behavior. Well, a nose touch as a foundation behavior turns into turning on and off lights. It turns into maybe doing a hand touch into a blocking position. So I'm going to teach those foundations really early. I may not name them. I may not use them for anything, but the wheels will be turning when I need to use them in the future. How long does it take for people to train your dog to heel? It depends on a lot of things. Loose leash walking in general is like a lifetime commitment to a dog. To find heel position, you could train in a few days, but that's different than like long-term healing. There's like a difference between what I require of a service dog, which is loose leash walking, general proximity next to me, and like competition heel, which can take years to teach correctly. I think my Landseer Newfoundland will be a pirate for his first costume. Yes, I love it. Okay. Are you a dog or a cat person? I don't own any cats. So fun fact about me, I am allergic to dogs. I'm allergic to cats. I'm allergic to horses. I am allergic to guinea pigs. I'm allergic to pretty much everything. But I am a dog person, a horse person. I had a guinea pig. I like cats fine, but I won't personally have a cat. Yeah. Target, I don't know. So targeting is any body part touching something else for a dog. So a nose to hand target, a foot to pedestal target. If you check out some of my training, you'll see it used a ton. So if you're saying task training is the actual task itself, like a medical retrieve, yeah, I'm not teaching that for a long time. I'm going to teach a retrieve. I'll teach a retrieve, but my philosophy on training a retrieve is specifically if it's for medication, is that dog knows how to pick up every single thing you point at before, or can name before they do it on the object I actually need them to pick up. I do not train a medical retrieve on medication. I train it on everything else first, and only once I'm no longer making mistakes do I start using it for medical retrieve. Deep pressure therapy is a little bit different. So I will feed in position for deep pressure therapy pretty young, but I'm not going to necessarily use it when I need to be calmed down for any reason. Yeah. So that would be much later. Yeah. Yep. Nose touches. They're great for opening doors. There's so much you can do. Okay. I have a little Australian cattle dog and I got him a little cow costume. Amazing. I love that. I have a cattle dog too, if you don't know that. Well, he's a cattle dog mutt that I got from Tennessee as a rescue. He's 15 now. Is clicker training effective? Yes, if executed well. I mean, marker training. So clicker training is just a concept of marker training. Most trainers use marker training in some sort, whether that's saying yes, whether it's clicking with their tongue, which is so hard to do because it's so dry here. That's a lot. But yes, marker training is how most professional trainers will use a marker as a bridge to food or to toy or whatever. I loved your video on service heel versus obedience heel. I try to explain that to people all the time, and now there's a video for reference. Oh, that's awesome, Kate Fry. Yeah, they're just so different. Like, I will not be teaching a competition like an obedience heel for quite a while. I'll teach foundations for that. So I'll teach proprioception. I'll teach them to be able to put their front feet on something and move their hind end away. All of that I will train, but those are two completely different skills and used for different things. And the one that you need for service dog work is the nice general loose leash walking thing. Okay, let's see. Restaurant. I don't think that's a full sentence on that one. I don't see the whole thing. School is a tricky one. That's something that I bridge with an actual trainer because school can be really, really difficult to navigate. I've done a couple school integrations and they're honestly just a pain in the butt with kids at school. I don't know if this is an adult or not, but with kids, it's really challenging. Yeah. But you want to do it slowly. You don't bring them for the full day. You bring them for a half an hour. And usually if you have the option, I would have a trainer bringing them to start. Yeah. Dove for a female name. That's nice. I like that. Since we got our new puppy, our older dog now barks at things he never barked at before. Potentially that's like a stress behavior. I don't know, when and how they're barking matters, right? But is this a stress behavior? Is this a noise related behavior? Can I put on white noise to reduce the noise outside? Is this a demand barking behavior? Is the dog feeling like they're not getting attention when the puppy is? You can teach an A/B skill. So like, you can teach for integration reasons. You can teach the dog when the puppy gets a treat, then they're going to get a treat. And so like you can have a predictable behavior that way. Our furry no. Oh, that one's responding to another person. Cool. Okay. Any more puppy related questions? Questions about my puppy, anything like that before I head out? If you haven't already, if you can hit that like button for me, I would super appreciate it because it helps people find this. And if you're getting value from my stuff, anytime you can press that like button, comment, all of that is really, really helpful on my videos, and sharing them with a friend, because most of the way that my channel seems to be spreading is word of mouth. So being able to share it with friends, I so appreciate that. Okay. What skills, success rate, stage do you recommend an owner train service dog begin going to work? Okay, so this is puppy specific, but I will have other ones that aren't going to be about, like, that'll be more general in the future. Yeah, just wanted to know if you... sorry, now they're coming so fast. Thank you. When do you get your puppy? I get the puppy next week. I should be home hopefully by the end of the week. How did I find the breeder? That's a long story. I went to multiple breeders that I was interested in. I researched different breeders that had produced what I was looking for. I talked to them on the phone. Then I went and looked at multiple breeders with their dogs. And then I ended up getting a referral to a breeder that another breeder thought that I would do well with. And that's how I ended up with this breeder. And then I went out and I visited. So I visited the breeder for a couple of days. I temperament tested her dogs. I brought them to new locations. I went to competitions where the breeder's dogs were going to be at. I met about 20 of the father's offspring so that I saw that the dogs were being produced consistently. And that's kind of when I committed to the puppy, to the breeding. Yeah. So you said next week we will get to get him. When will we get to see who picked? I'm hoping. Okay, so you'll have to bear with me because I'm also driving, from here 16 hours or 13 hours to Illinois, picking up the puppy, 16 hours home. So I'm going to try and get an intro video out next Friday. We'll see if that happens. I may be absolutely exhausted and it'll be next week, or the week after, but hopefully next Friday. Thumbs up, everyone. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Is it a boy or a girl? It is a boy. I did an entire talk on why I chose a boy over on Patreon. So if you're a Patreon member, I talk about specifically why I chose a boy over there. You can check that out. It's $4 to join to see that on Patreon. How do you feel about golden doodles or doodle mixes? Is this the same person that asked me about e-collars? No, I'm just kidding. Doodles paid my mortgage for 10 years. That's what I will tell you about that. I have no inherent problem with doodles, mixes, whatever, but I'm kind of the variety. I've met some really nice ones and I've met some that are incredibly inconsistent and have a ton of anxiety. When I was training pet dogs, my biggest things from doodles is always they're jumping on people, they're biting children, and they're anxious. That's not all doodles. I'm just saying that's what I got called for. So there are some really nice ones out there, but I find that they're pretty inconsistent a lot of the time. I'm not saying don't get one, but if I would get a purebred poodle or a purebred Labrador because you're much more likely to get the same temperament. I'm excited to see how your puppy transitions with Whip. I'm a little nervous about that when it's my turn. I'm nervous about it too, K-Fry. Okay, so Whip, for those of you that don't know, she is a fickle animal, and she, I don't think, is going to love having the new puppy at the house. So it's going to be a really, really slow transition period for her, with a lot of doing work together outside and then a lot of barriers inside for a while as she gets used to the puppy. I'm way less worried about Jake because Jake was fantastic with Whip when she was a puppy. But yeah, I think it's going to be honestly a slow process with Whip because I don't think she's going to be thrilled. That's the honest truth. I think she'd be totally fine living out her days, never living with a puppy. um, My current service dog is 5. It took me 3 to 4 years to own or train it myself. When is a good time to retire current service dog and get a new puppy? So I wouldn't retire the current service dog until your next puppy is fully trained, if possible, which is the reason that Whip is 8 and I have a good 2 years to train this puppy before she transitions into full retirement, though she's kind of verging on being used less right now because that's who she is. So I would start looking in another year or two, at least kind of browsing around for the right breeder. Gotta head out. Love the vids. Excited to meet the puppy. Thanks, Desiree. Okay. When should I get? Oh, another question about when to get a puppy. Yeah, and I actually have. If you look on my channel, I actually have a video on preparing for service dog puppy for the next preparing. Let's see if I can find it for you and drop it in the thing. Choosing and preparing for your next service dog. Boom. Got it. I'll throw that in the chat for you. That one is a good one for when I started and how I started preparing for a new service dog. Will you be chronicling his training online anywhere? Yeah, so I set up my life over the past 2 years. I have very purposefully slowly stopped taking clients, got my Patreon going so that my entire job for the next 3+ years is to chronicle the training of this puppy. So you're going to see a ton of free content here on YouTube. You're going to see more uncut sessions because YouTube, the way YouTube works is people don't have long, not saying you guys, but people don't have long attention spans. So you have to do like quick cuts and all this stuff. That's hard. So a lot of the uncut training stuff will be over on Patreon. You can join Patreon for just $4 a month. You can cancel anytime. And you'll be able to see a ton of that uncut stuff there. I will occasionally be putting it up here on YouTube as well. But it'll be kind of targeted. So I'll be doing both free stuff on here. I'm going to create a series, called Raising a Service Dog. And it's going to have lots of different parts and the things that I'm working on with the puppy. So make sure you subscribe and check out the videos. Zombie Bunny. I have a golden doodle service dog and he's amazing. Yeah, and I've trained sorry, I don't want to hate on golden doodles or doodles in general. I've trained a ton of really nice ones. I just find them to be more inconsistent than a full bred lab or a full bred poodle as far as temperament goes. But there's tons of great ones out there. So make sure, just like everything else, just like the advice I gave for labs or poodles or golden retrievers, you need to find a breeder that is consistently breeding dogs that you want. So service dogs, they're doing temperament testing, they're doing all the health clearances that they should. Like there's no, it would be like you saying, for me, it's like, okay, should I have a collie? Well, the collie isn't like there's great collies that make service dogs. There's awesome collies, but they're not the main dog used for service dog work because they have a lower success rate. That's all. So I'd say the same thing if you said Doberman, How could you choose a boy while also trying to test who'd be best? My breeder will pick a boy or a girl based off testing. Yeah, so like I said, I have a full talk on that over on Patreon on why I'm choosing a boy. But a lot of it has to do with the current dogs in my house. So that is, I think that Whip will get along better with a boy. I mean, that's a short reason. Super duper. Okay, I think I'm gonna call it because it's getting kind of hot in here. Thank you all for being here. If you haven't, went and smashed that like button, please go do that. I appreciate it. Share it with a friend. Yeah, that's it. Looking forward to the new series. Thank you. Appreciate you all for being here. I'm looking forward to giving you even more content and for you kind of to train along with me. So hopefully it'll all be helpful. All right. Have an awesome one. Happy training. Bye.